So just a heads up, the sound quality in this episode is not the very best. By the way, I'm blaming Regan. It's totally his fault. I'm putting him under the bus right here. Tell him to go and buy a new mic. If you are listening to this, blast him in his DMs, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere. Tell him to go and buy a new mic. But yeah, we almost did not drop this, but we did not want to rob you guys of this insightful episode. So we hope you find a lot of insights from it. And apologies for the bad quality. We'll do better next time. And yeah, before I let you go, we recorded an episode with Ozenwa. Ozenwa is a Nigerian designer, one of the best designers in Africa. We recorded an episode with him last Thursday. I should drop somewhere in June. It's a mad episode, I can promise you that. So watch out for that. But yeah, sorry for this poor quality. And go enjoy this episode.
When it comes to collaborating with cross-functional teams, I mean, we've all had a fair share of it. Working with a cross-functional team, it kind of helped me in terms of my communication, because then you are working with diverse teams. They are not designers. So definitely you have to mind some of your vocabs. You can't go with them if you are presenting a particular design to them and you start speaking this design jargon. Definitely they will not understand. So you have to empathize with them in a sense that, okay, these people, what do they understand when it comes to design? Leverage on that, try and use their field to and kind of find a balance and explain things to them. So personally, it has improved the way I communicate my designs to them, because yes, I have to consider them in mind. And one thing that also helps is the fact that they are coming from like different fields, right? So they have this diverse perspective. So everyone comes with this different idea. And for designers, you know how crucial this particular thing is, where let's say you are ideating and now you are stuck with a particular thought in mind. Here's the case when you are collaborating with such team, you have people coming in, chiming in with different ideas here and there, and this kind of like shape the direction where you want to, go as a designer too. So I don't know who wants to also like share their experience on it, but personally, there's some of the things I can think of at the moment.
For me, one of the things that I like about collaborating with such a team is that everyone has specific domain knowledge, right? If it's a product manager, that person has an idea of like the direction in which the entire project should go, right? The various metrics and everything, right? They know all of that, right? And then you as a designer, too, you have your own domain knowledge that you're bringing on board in terms of the solution that you're going to design. And then the engineers also have a fair idea in terms of the resources that are going to implementation, right? So all of you just coming together to work on the project means that at the end of the day, everyone contributes and then everyone brings a unique offering to the table, right? Because you, let's say, as a designer, right, we all know you design something today, you sleep, you wake up, you'd want to change something here and there. You always want to do something to improve it, right? You'd want to probably just go overboard, right? But then the engineers on the team may know that if you are going this way, that way, this is the amount of resources that it will require. And probably with the deadline that we have to meet, it may not be feasible to go with this direction, right? So then you may have to make certain trade-offs here and there, right? So that's also like a good benefit of working with such a team. Everyone just has specific knowledge that they bring on board, and then they make sure that they can push the project into a good place, rather than if it was just one person working on it.
Yeah, definitely. Sam and Regan, do you guys have anything to add?
So with what Mike was saying, just to add to that, so one thing I like working with a cross-functional team is, how, what he said, like everyone has specific domain knowledge, right? So as a designer, you kind of have a way of thinking, developers have a way of thinking, product managers or the marketing team and all that. And for example, normally what happens is at the end of the week, we kind of jump on a call with the other team, people in the product team, developers and all that, kind of go through the designs. And every single time I kind of enjoy the feedback I get because it makes me see how, even though I thought maybe let's say I was able to hit the solution on the head, I get different perspective from each and every single individual. Sometimes I miss little details and then maybe this developer will be able to point it out. Let me know, okay, this one we can. So it kind of makes working fun and also broadening the solution so that not just kind of like one person doing everything. So that's one thing I like.
Yeah, I think everybody has said what is exactly, well, essentially what it is. Yeah, it's basically working with people like from different departments that may not necessarily be like the product team. The product team primarily consists of the designers and the PMs, right? So I mean now it's like a given. When you're a designer and working on a project, you definitely work with a PM directly if you're not going to work with an engineer directly. Even now, working with engineers is also like a given now. You have to. So yeah, I mean, it's basically picking the ideas of people from different departments and also not just picking the ideas, but like how the flow of the things that need to be worked on come in. So I mean, if let's say a customer makes a complaint and whatever, and then the support team typically like log all those complaints, right? So let me give an example of one place I used to work. So I used to have weekly sessions with the support team where they have a log of all the customer complaints. So we go there, I mean, we meet with them and then we go through all the necessary problems and then we rank all the pain points and see which of them are like crucial to the experience and which ones are low hanging that we can quickly solve but have like the most impact, right? So that's like one way. It's not always about you always getting a problem and then you working on it and sharing it with people to get their feedback. It's also like how the whole process begins of solving a problem. So once you get that, then you can have conversations with your PM or whatnot, and then they will make a decision on what to prioritize, what not to. You can go work on it, and then the whole cycle continues from there. Share with your engineers or discuss with your engineers even before starting to get feedback on feasibility. Share with other people to get their thoughts, and yeah, all that. I'm pretty sure we'll speak more on that as we go along.
I also have a similar experience where we have this feedback board that normally customers go there, they file in their complaints, their experience. So if it's a bug, we have this category tag that we attach to it. So by the end of the week, the customer success team and the marketing team, they have this rating thing where it's more like this forums, you have upvotes and downvotes, right? So the more a particular complaint is like higher on the vote, the more we know that, okay, have to actually pay attention to that. So sometimes that helps in the prioritization. But I want us to touch on the challenges because definitely we have to consider the context too, because there are teams that don't have these systems in place. Talking about streamlining your work process, right? There are companies that don't do that. So in companies that don't have these things, definitely communication will be a challenge. And I'm sure most of us here have had that issue with communication, especially collaborating with these cross-functional teams. I'd like you guys to touch on that, what conflict it was and how you resolved it.
So, well, again, just to use my workplace as an example. So then I get to the question. So normally, this is how the week goes. Monday, I kind of just go through what was done the previous week. If anything was left to be done, blah, blah, blah. If not, I just wait for Tuesday. And Tuesday, I meet with the product manager before meeting with the development team. So I meet with the product manager. We go through what needs to be done, right? Maybe there was some complaints from last week. Maybe we are working on something new. We basically go through everything together with the product manager and then the state and CTO. Then on that same day, later on, we talk to the developer. Now, normally, just like you were saying, there might be some conflicting ideas. One thing I liked was we always solve it by kind of going with good solutions. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. So maybe I'm suggesting idea A, and then the developer is saying, oh, let's go with idea B. Because we are kind of now talking about it, using words, no one is able to grasp what we're actually talking about. So normally, I kind of just go to the drawing board, do something that we come back to the team, we all go through together and then decide, okay, this one works best, this one works best. In the case where we come back and then there's still the thing of this one wanting this one wanting this, and then everything. Normally, we kind of test. What I like about the place I'm working right now is they have kind of role users on board. So then they were able to get people to talk to, right? It's a sports company. So then they were able to get people to talk to, and then kind of hear from the users, and then now make a final decision. And they're always open. I mean, the developer and the CTO people, they're always open to what we get from kind of testing the product with users. So normally, when issues like that arise, young Kasabe, because we call back and forth. And this person will say this person will say this person will say this. And then at the end of the day, there's not a final decision being made. So we so sometimes maybe a particular feature, we might have like 3 variations, get users, and then kind of have them tested, and then we make our decision based on that. In another conflict that sometimes arises, developmental stuff, right? So maybe I develop the design, do the stuff, and then on the development side, it might be too complex, right? Because maybe something they want to ship in maybe like 2 weeks, maybe it will take them maybe a month what I've actually done. So sometimes you kind of look for an alternate solution, which is similar to what we've developed, but then can be done faster. And because I understand the fact that, they want to ship this maybe in 2 weeks, sometimes they push the actual version to maybe the second version, and then for version 1, do something that solves the solution, but then it's quicker to develop. So normally it's communication that we use to solve this thing, but then again, we do actual tests to make the final decision.
So I think some of the major issues be communication. So one example, in the past, one of my roles, I was working with this person who was like a PM, a makeshift PM sort of, and yeah, she was trying to communicate. Obviously she wasn't a designer, but she was trying to communicate to me using design terms, right, or what she thought were design terms, and then the things she was saying meant very different from what the actual term was, as compared to what she understood it to be, right? So we were constant scenarios where, because I understood that term in a certain way, like I did it a certain way, but it didn't necessarily meet what she was expecting, right? So it was later on then I realized, I was like, wait, what exactly do you mean by this thing that you're saying? I've forgotten the term she was talking about, but what exactly do you mean by this thing you're saying? And then she explained it, and I was like, yo, that's like, that's something very different, right? So, and I was like, from then I was like, don't try and talk like a designer, because you're not a designer. You speak in your own language, and if I don't understand, I'll ask you questions, right? So that's like one of the major barriers, is the communication. And also, because it's in a remote world now, collaborating can be sometimes a bit difficult, because you obviously have to reach out to the person via your messaging platform, whether it's Slack or Teams, and then you don't always get a response, or some of the cases, if you do, it won't be on time, right? And it's not like an office environment where you can easily walk into someone's desk and ask them a question. So that's like one of the major challenges. So you sort of have to rely on the person responding in time, so you can take it from there. So I mean, yeah, I think for me, those are like some of the differences or the conflicts that I can think of. I mean, also because, again, if it's a remote setting and it's like an international team, obviously there's cultural differences from different like regions. I mean, if people from Africa communicate differently from people from South America or Europe, Asia, whatever. So there's all that.
Mr. Ivy, do you have anything to touch on it? And before you also like say yours, I'd like you to also touch on this too. So with regards to working with different people like remotely, how do you normally go about it? Like, definitely there will be this time zone difference, and another issue that we've not really also considered is work style. So definitely you have some people in your team that have like the structured way of working, and others are flexible and all that. So we are looking at 2 instances here, having a different work style and also time zone differences. So looking at these 2 instances with Mike, how you go address this particular one?
Okay, so time zone, right? For me, I work with people on site in the office. So literally we are all in the same time zone. If I need something, I just either turn around, tap the person, or walk over to where they are, ask the question that I want to ask, and then I come back to sit down and continue with my work. So for me, times don't really coincide with like how I work. For me, like this, right? I like to work very quietly. I did my one corner, I do my work. When I'm done or I'm stuck, then I'll reach out to someone. But I guess everyone is different. Some people just like to be able to do everything, like they don't mind working and being interrupted and going back into the workflow. For them, it's pretty normal. So I guess basically you just have to know who you work with, right? And then know how best to engage with them. Because for me, just like I said, because I like to work quietly and then be in my space and then do my work, if you are interrupting me, regularly, I'll probably be upset with you. And then maybe one day just tell you my mind. So yeah, just know who you work with and then see how best you can navigate that space. If the person that you work with doesn't mind being interrupted, you can obviously just like walk up to them and talk to them. But then if they mind being interrupted, you can just send them a text message via your communication channel and then wait for them to respond or something. I don't know if that they answer your work style question.
Yeah, the answer. Because normally people don't consider these things. They feel like if I'm working this way, why are you not working that way? You get it. But sometimes they forget that what works best for you might not work best for another person. And that's something most teams don't consider, especially people at like the management level. Anyways, about the time zone differences, what I do is I look at the time for the other like teams I'll be collaborating with, or if it's a dev or PM, I look at their time zone and kind of find this overlap, right? So that overlap maybe will be like an overlap of 4 hours where any collaboration work that I need to get done, I do it within those times. But then if let's say I wake up in the morning and I need to do something that doesn't really require their input, I start with that. But if it's anything collaborative, I normally either I'm doing a Loom was it recording, send it to them. So when they come online, they see it, they make their comments. I also see it and make the changes. Or sometimes I leave out comments in the Figma file too, where they hop on it and see it. So depending on how your team's time zone is, you can actually find a specific time. Well, that works for me, so I don't know what works best. But I normally find this overlap where I try and use that time for any collaborative work. Reagan, Sam, you guys today do remote work. How do you go about this?
Well, literally, I do what's able. Normally, I do Loom. When it comes to even working hours, we have about like 4 like different times. Sometimes as it be like 1 p.m. for me, that be the time. The product manager is starting late, that's like 8 a.m. safe. For the developer to be, for all the 3 developers to be around 5:30, 6 p.m. for them and all that. So, well, me normally I just start my work around like 1 p.m., sometimes 12 or 11 p.m. for like the next couple of hours. But when it comes to presenting ideas or solutions and all that, because maybe sometimes as I come up with ideas and I see the things, I just do a long presentation and then share to them. You know how you can make comments and all that. Sometimes too, I kind of just maybe take a screenshot of whatever I said and then maybe add. If it's not something like this, a video, just add a text explanation, right? Then come back, then email solution and all that. And one thing I was always pushing for when I was trying this thing was making sure my Figma was structured in a way that no matter who opens it, they don't get missing in the file, right? You know how normally we just put everything in how for this is just after we do in our Figma. So I structure them in a way that if the developer or if the stakeholders, if the product, anybody, then if he access even a marketing team, and actually that's worked because I do them in a way that you come and know what I do for to access. So yeah, to answer the question, me normally I do the Loom thing. They just present to them, give their feedback in the day, and then continue from there.
My other question is, let's say you are from a different, okay, you switch jobs, right? You go to a different team and you notice that their way of working is kind of like different from what you are used to. And you've made it known to them, but they are resistant to the change. In that case, do you adapt to their working style, which probably might not favor you because you don't work that way? Or do you cope with them for some time, then you find a new place? How you go handle such situation? Do you stay and fight the good fight? Or you hang around for some time and then you leave?
So depending on like where I am, if I feel like fighting, okay, in the beginning, of course, I'll fight, obviously, because I can't just get up and leave because things aren't the way I want them to be or the way I would like them to be. So obviously, like you fight, not necessarily like fight, but yeah, you just like dropping suggestions here and there as to how things can be improved. Right. So then you just continue chipping things in here and there. But then if they see the importance of what you're pushing for, obviously they'll start to, adapt and add it into their current process, right? And if you see something like this, then you know that, okay, cool, this is a good place to be. And then you can continue pushing for things. You can continue the good fight. But then if you push, and then nothing is changing, it might be a good time to jump ship. Leaving should always be the last resort.
I agree to my thing, but not 100% because, well, the reason I agree to it is because, like the previous place I was before the people the guy, I don't think Mike was here, but I even spoke about it. Hence, there's some that they tell you about how then they stress me and all that, right? And I was trying to fight for a change, and eventually that did not happen. I left, right? But then that company I would have stayed if, let's say, no one should insult me, but the study decided to double the salary, like 200%. I don't get a problem because the things I was trying to fight for, like maybe working on weekends, which was Saturday and Sunday, and if they double the salary, I feel like okay, fine. That's kind of extra 100% is taking care of me working on the Saturday and Sunday, right? But even that was still becoming a problem. So me, yes, for beginning, like someone saying, you try push for change. If maybe what's the terms you're trying to go for is not being met and all that, then leave it there for now. But then again, there are some places I've worked in where I can't adapt to their working environment, and that is not because if we are talking about working environment, it may differ. But maybe some place they use this process, some place if you use the other process to not be anything, but because you are used to the first process, you don't want to change to the second process. So me, something like that. If we let's say this is how I was working before, and this company spoke, we don't use this, we use this. And I feel like, because sometimes it's even an opportunity to learn something new, you understand. Because, for example, I work with my lecturer, the kind of working environment for that side is different from how I currently work in that. So I adapt to, several working environments if I feel like, it's something that is worth it. But if it's something where they drain me and all that, I know they see the good and they're not willing to also double their salary for me, which is like, or maybe give me like extra benefits, then living is going to be the final option.
Based on what Regan was saying, right, that there are places where you have to adapt, right? Some of the things, of course, you'd have to adapt. Maybe let's bring in tools, for example. If you are used to maybe using Figma and you go somewhere and that place they use Sketch, right? And then maybe you're not comfortable with Sketch. Obviously, you'd have to adapt because you can't say they should switch to Figma just because you like using Figma, right? But then if if their current process is a hindrance to your workflow, right? If it's a strong hindrance, it's not, bringing the best out of you and all those things, then those are the things that you'd have to fight for. But then you can't just get up and be picking any random fights just because, you want something else.
Yeah, most designers be emotional. I don't know why. They feel like everything should go their way. Anyway, that's just...
So the thing, are we saying environment as in company culture or environment as in work tools or methods that the company already applies?
So it's everything. So be it culture, work processes, whatever. If it's different and it's not helping you, do you adapt or you hang out for some time before you leave? Which ones are you looking at? let's say the ones you are looking at when it comes to adapting, and the ones maybe when it happens, you really not give a second thought to it?
So if it's the method or the tools, like the Figma or Sketch thing Michael was talking about, that one you typically know before the interview itself, because it will be written in the job description. So if you know that you can't use what it is they've listed there, then it's either you make it clear during the interview, or you start learning if you are still interested in working for the company. For the culture, again, it's from experience. You can tell these things from the interview phase by asking the right questions. You might not fully grasp the whole picture until like you actually join the company to fully understand the situation on the ground. But some of the things you can tell right before you join the company by asking questions during the interview phase. Again, it goes back to all the things we've been saying about interview not being a one-way street. It's not them doing you a favor to give you a job and pay you money. You are also doing you a favor because you are coming to make that money. They need you. Well, not necessarily you per se, but they need someone to come and help them solve a specific need, or they need a certain skill sets to help them solve something. So it's like a two-way street. So you also have to ask the right questions to understand how the company works, and asking the right questions is solely up to you. You need to like understand what are important to you, and what are the things that like you don't mind adapting to, and the things that are like non-negotiables. For my instance, like this, when I was joining a new company, I had to go through some experiences to fully understand the things that I don't want. So I asked questions along those lines, like in terms of mental health and how the team works, in terms of like the number of calls they do, and like all those things. Because just like Michael was saying, well, I don't know if that part we go add them to one or not, but I don't like a lot of calls. So for me, those things are like important to me, because I don't want to be in a situation where people just get in the habit of jumping on calls all the time without actually doing the work, or leaving room for people to do the work, and then they will expect you to use your own personal time to do the work, right? So those questions were important to me, and along with other things. So I asked those questions just to get a good understanding of how that company operates and if it aligns with what I want, right? Again, I know Reagan was saying that if they doubled the salary for him, he would have stayed. I don't understand the situation fully, so maybe that will work for him. But then again, if you are in a situation where it's like, for me personally, anything that has to do with like mental health, me non-negotiable. I just go bounce. I won't think twice. Fuck you and your money. I'll just bounce.
That'll be hard.
I won't think
That'll be
twice,
hard.
because if it has to do with my mental health and my well-being, I won't think twice. Because at the end of the day, if you keep tolerating it and you don't adapt, maybe you try to adapt, you can't adapt. Some people can adapt, but if you are seeing that it's not helping you, and there's no way you're adapting to it, it will just fuck you up. You won't be able to work, and in the end, them go fire you, right? Because you won't be at your best to do the best work, and you don't want that on your record that you've been fired, right? Because if you're not doing the work, then we'll let you go. So why not, if the people are also not doing their parts to ensure like the employees are like in a good position, why are you giving them like a second chance? Or are you like giving them, some people don't give second, like some people give like 10 chances, 20 chances just to see if things will go wrong. Don't be like our parents who will be in one company for 25 years and not be promoted and say, oh, I want to be loyal to the company or not. If you slack, them will fire you. And it has been clear from the recent layoffs that we've been seeing happening all over the world, right? The money, I can tell you from a fact that you always like, it's not, again, that's why I disagree with what Regan was saying about if they double their money, because you always be paid better. There will always be a place to pay you better, right? Again, I don't understand your situation, so you can do whatever you want, so far as you feel like that's the best thing for you. But don't be so focused and say, oh, this is for me, they're paying me well, or they are paying me right, so make I just stay. There will always be a place that will pay you better. And the core thing that you need to understand is that it's your skill sets. So focus on developing your skill sets. And once you get to the point where you feel strongly like, oh, Charlie, I can do this thing, I think it comes with growth. You have to just experience some things to be in that mindset of not tolerating some things from certain environments, right? And be able to like confidently walk away from things and know that there will be a better place for you where you be compensated very well and treated like very well too. So it's not like it's one or the other. Like, oh, if they pay me well and you don't treat me right, it's fine. It's the money that I want. If your brain is fucked up, you won't be able to enjoy that money. I'm telling you.
There's always a better option. Like, no matter what, there's always a better option. People always get, like you said, they have this mentality where they feel like, I don't know, one like that be it. But I bet you, if you start looking elsewhere, you notice that Charlie, what's your boom watch? Anyways, yeah, Reagan.
Okay, so I mean, what I'm saying is 100%. Just to clarify, one, I said if they were willing. Now, it was not a situation now, like again, mental health, as it taught me, it's important to everybody, right? So you're not being in a company where you're being paid huge sums of money and then you're not in the right state of mind to work, right? But now, another thing, I mean, I agree with every single thing he said, right? But then you don't just stand up and then just leave a company. Like you said, there's always like more out there, right? People do the mistake of thinking that, oh, this place if I stay for long, they're going to pay me, blah, blah, blah. Now, in my scenario or the previous place I was talking about, if they were willing to double the salary, I was willing to stay because it was not something that was like that deep. You get to that, you talk, say, oh, I'll not be able to work or what. But then eventually you go to the point where I left because I was like, oh, nah, I already need a break. So, because I resigned without having a second job. You understand? So, it's not like the money is so important. But I was saying that if there's something to kind of just calm it down and, okay, well, sure, no problem. I'm willing to maybe jump on a meeting on Saturday maybe before. Because normally the meetings that were happening on Saturday was like 2, 1 or something like that. So, it's not like it's all about the money necessarily, but then looking at the situation, if it's something that's giving me more benefit to make me stay, why not? I don't know if you get where I'm coming from. I'm not saying somebody should go and stay somewhere and be taking, let's say 3 times to your actual salary, and then your mental health is messed up.
I mean, I guess
So
you.
that's
Maybe
on
it's for you. It's what's the right word? Is it tolerable or tolerable? Whatever. Like you can tolerate it if they pay you the right amount.
Yes.
Right. But again, for me, and the things I've seen and the experience I've been through, me no amount of money, right? And again, maybe it comes from the mindset that I've always been in, right? I've never taken a decision based on money because I feel like, and maybe again it's about the mindset. I feel like money is one of the easiest things you can get because it all goes back to you as an individual, right? How you think and your skill set, how you improve yourself. The money will come, right? So I've never made a decision in my life solely focused on money, right? So that is it for me. Where I work now, right? People, and even personally, I work on weekends, right? It's not like I don't work on weekends. Friday, 5 o'clock on my phone. No, I do work on weekends, right? But I will never come on a call, right? Before I work, I mean, people will stand up and say, "Oh, over the weekend I did this. Over the weekend I did that," and I'll be like, "Yo, don't come and be saying these things on calls. Like me, I go work on weekend, right? But I will never come on a call and come and say that over the weekend I did this or last night I did that. Even if I did, right? The reason being that I don't want new people who come into the company to feel like, yeah, this is something that is normal. So in the case where they are struggling, they don't understand why like people are expecting them to work on holidays and things. They feel like they have to because that's what everybody is doing. I will never say it. Even though I work on weekends, I will never come on a call and come and say over the weekend I did this, last night I did that, or last night I was on a call for this long with this person. Even if that was what I will never say that because I don't want other people who join the company to come and pick it up and feel like that is a normal thing. Because that's one thing that I experienced in one of my previous roles, right? So again, I feel like companies should. I know this topic is sort of going off track a bit, right? But for me personally, there's no amount of money that should like you shouldn't sacrifice. Don't feel like you should ever sacrifice your well-being or something for money.
Levels to it. I just want to add that there's levels to it because Sam, don't instruct me. The kind of level where it got to, and I'm saying this to just clarify things. The kind of level where you've got to, if maybe we're in another place you're working, they kind of do 1, 2, 3 you will just pack your bags and leave. But then again, there are people that are just getting into the space. I'm not saying that go and work in a company that is going to mess up your mental health, right? Or a company that is just going to straight you out. But then sometimes that's why I was saying that when Mike said that leave. Now I was saying that it's not always the case because sometimes you have to probably maybe just sit down for a while and then maybe because again Mike made that statement, something has to pay the bills. You know, if you just oh because they are stressing you one or two this thing, then just leave. I don't know if I'm saying there's levels to it. You get to a point where you don't even want one unnecessary issue with or maybe stress or anything. But then again, you just started. Then stress you want to know, you pack your things, you go sit out. How long is it going to take you to even get another job or a full time? Yes, there are opportunities out there and all that. But then how do you say it? What I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to say is that at the end of the day, it all comes to kind of like shaking time and then making a decision. Because for example, me, if right now somebody's messing up my mental health where I will pack my things and go because I know that in less than a week I can get another job. I mean that's what's happening in the previous places. But then again, if you just get we just started and then there's just one to pack your things, there's just one to pack your things. Charlie, looking at even the current working environment and how they are claiming more job per day and this whole layoff stuff. But yeah, let's not dive too completely off.
But yeah, I think I get where Reagan is coming from and also where Sam is coming from. But yeah, like both of you guys are coming from like different, but it's still the same thing, right? It's still the same thing. Because at the end of the day, if let's say I'm a newbie, I come fresh, I enter this job, then they stress me out mentally. There's this number of times like duration I feel tolerate because I don't want this set of skill. So as I no get no, if let's say I quit immediate, it will be difficult for me to get a job. Unlike people that are really skilled, that one say, oh, then fuck you up now. You will get another one. So sometimes it's just like the individual where you find yourself at that point in time. Then you go take your decision based on that. Because I remember I had to tolerate this lady, Mike go know this NGOB now we they work for. I had to tolerate her for 3 months. 3 months, the reason why it was 3 months because I needed that particular experience to get another job. Because they were looking for that working experience sort of thing. So I had to volunteer. So she wasn't paying me anything. But now she stressed me. So I just had to tolerate her for that 3 months. Then Charlie, I finished and moved. But I wasn't really concerned. Like I didn't take things to heart like that because now my mind, I think differently. But sometimes if we push the agenda, say, oh, small thing bounce, then yawa, because you have to consider where you are as a designer, developer. Like
what Jeff did talk for instance, right? Then me and Jeff did at the same time, right? Me, as I said, I won't left. I literally just pack my bags where I left. But then in Jeff, in case he had to wait for like the 3 months before leaving. So then, even if you look at it, we're all going through the same thing. But if you look at it, everyone had like different reasons. So yeah, so at the end of the day, either it could be the skill you want to learn, money that you want to make, or whatever. You'd still have to think about just leaving. You still have to think about leaving very carefully, right? Because once you leave, whatever you're looking for is done. You're not going to get it from there anymore. So you have to think about it very, very carefully.
Let me just add this before Sam comes in. Some people they use again, like see everybody they value mental health, right? Like we've saying, everybody wants to be in the right state of mind to work. But then some people use the excuses of my mental health to kind of do the bare minimum. Like they did a company and they have to give let's say 110%, and then they are thinking about their like someone was saying, he sometimes work on weekends, right? I mean, but then you don't have to come and jump on the court to say it. But some small stress be their mental health. Like, can they not be a fucking company? Like, you need to give. I don't know if I wish I could say talk the chi. Like, I don't understand kind of chi, but like they are using them. They are using their mental health as excuses not to go all out for the company. That's not to say kill yourself for a company, but just to feel like we are saying it's a journey. Know where you are at your career, and then make decisions based on that. Then go join the company because they stress you want to, and then you're like, hey, please, my mental health is important to me. Like Mike said, it's a decision. It's a matter of whether you're in for the money or to learn the skill, or so you decide based on that. But yeah, by the way, we go off topic. So let's just
It's not really off topic. It's just the challenges part when it comes to you joining a team that has was it different, because then you are collaborating. You are working in a collaborative team. But here's the case: their culture is different, or their way of work is different. So in that case, how do you go about it? So it's not really off topic per se, Udebab. Anyway, Sam, you touch on this, then make we wrap up.
Yeah, so I mean, just like I've always been saying for time, don't listen to anybody online and be a part of the people online and take anything you're saying and come and go and apply it to yours. Because me, I've been through some shit. So it's been a journey, and I've understood the things I like, the things I don't want to tolerate. Right. So in your case, it could be very different. It could be that you are starting. You need to experience it. You need to experience some things to understand what you like, what you don't like. It's just like a child who is growing up. You need to experience salt. You need to like taste salt. You need to taste sugar to know the difference between the two, and know which ones you like, which one you don't like. You get it. You have to go through the experience, be burnt by the fire, and then learn from it. So yeah, you don't just take anything we are saying here and use it for your life, right? You need to experience it, go through it. Major and show, be burnt by the fire, and then you come out to be a better person. You get it. So don't just come in because we are, or I am saying, or we are saying that if they are stressing you, maybe it's time for you to think to leave. It could be that you probably need the experience, right? You need to stay for longer so you can have that experience on your resume. Again, you have to think about a bigger picture. The company is using you to make money, so you need to find ways of gaining value from that company too. So it's not always about the paycheck you're getting at the end of the month, right? Having some company's name on your CV will open better doors for you, right? So it's about playing the game too. Again, life is a game. It's about playing the game too and knowing how long you can tolerate this for, to have this on at least this experience or this company on your resume. And then once you go into a different interview, you can speak on some of the things you did at that previous company to get you into that next door, right? It was the same for me. I had to tolerate some things so I could get some experience and then work on some projects so I can use that to get better opportunities. But yeah, don't just listen to anybody you hear online. Find your context and understand your context and know what works for you.
Alrighty. Reagan and Mike, you people. I did give you people 1 minute. Talk what you want.
Okay, so me, I wanted to say the first one said it was about the designers being emotional, but we've gone away from that. So just to add to this, sometimes, again, I worked with my lecturer when I was on campus and after and everything, and the working environment there be like partial, like fast and everything, because the kind clients he gets, let me not get into that. Like they need the things faster, right? Now that place, then I know they enjoy them at the beginning, but then what that did for me was that it kind of built me up for what was coming ahead. So, for example, currently, I think since the last time as we go chop food and we talk about this, then go give you a tax, and then to them the tax is split. But because of how I kind of started, it looks small to me, so I'm able to finish that within, let's say, the shortest time possible, and then move on to the next thing and another. So sometimes you find yourself in a place, and then that time is to kind of change, like someone was saying. Maybe because the company is using it to make money, so you also have to make sure you're getting something from it, like learning from it, and then get that experience, and then now you go through decide what they want and all that. Because personally, that kind of built me up for some stuff. Yeah, 10 seconds. I'm done. Pick this thing.
Yeah, so that will be it for this episode. I hope you guys learned a lot from this. And like Sam always say, make you not take this as the gospel truth. Just do what works best for you. That one there, we always go talk. So make sure that, Charlie, if this thing no the work give you, you try and avoid it. Do what works best for you. And yeah, with the collaboration, in conclusion, then say it help in terms of you getting new perspectives, and it also helps in communication, because definitely because of these conflicts that you experience, definitely you improve your communication skills, also help streamline workflow processes and all that. So yeah, that would be it for this episode. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So yeah, if you don't know, we've recently created an account. We post our episodes there with transcribe. We've transcribed everything. So yes, hop onto our YouTube channel and subscribe. And also Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn accounts, The Design Junkies. You have our personal profiles in there. You can follow us as well. So yeah, that will be it for this episode. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace.